Is the final leg of the crypto bull market about to restart for the next 3 to 5 months? And what assets should you be targeting if this actually is the last chance to buy? Now I can hear you through the screen. Suppoman, the bull market is over. The bear market's about to start. Liquidity is drying. Our own 4-year cycle has dictated the crypto market is dead. I'm going to be presenting you with compelling data as to why a crypto bull market is about to start and why what we may be seeing is the early start of this bull market. My name's the Suppoman, your superhero of 100 to 1000x gems. I do my live shows so I can explain to you all of what's happening in the market and give you alpha before it goes on my main channel. So if you love content like this, knowing the details from a person with 8 years in this market, then make sure that you subscribe and also smash a like on this video if you've just joined us. Because I am the man who has found the most huge multipliers in all of crypto YouTube and all of crypto Twitter. So make sure that you watch on because this could be a very lucrative period coming up. Now, right now, we are seeing that the crypto market is having somewhat of a relief rally. We are seeing some huge gains today, near up 40%. Starknet up 42%, Filecoin and Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance up 70%. So we are seeing a bounce in the market. We are seeing that shorts are actually getting wrecked. People in short positions are finally actually seeing the worst side of liquidations. And people who are in longs are actually not doing too badly. The crypto market looks to be in somewhat of a relatively healthy shape. With Bitcoin, which today was $99,000, has just pumped up to over 103,000. Now, my personal opinion is that this is a potential relief rally. I don't think this is necessarily the beginning of a bull market, right? But I do think that a bull market is going to be starting relatively soon. And what we are seeing right now is people trying to get ahead of the game. And we are seeing this happening in some of the huge coins in the market. So this is presenting that smart money could be buying. Now, the sentiment is still absolutely through the floor. Crypto cycle 4 is officially over. You think you're early, actually you're buying the top. Welcome to the dump. Okay, so this is the inverse of what we've been seeing from X accounts like Wrecked Fencer, who have been saying that we have got this massive altcoin season coming from this price. And now we've potentially got even further dumpage coming. We've got Filecoin reaffirming his position that we are likely in a bear market. And if we do go below 99,000, it's confirmed. Now, I personally agree with 100x crypto gems, right? Because the 4-year cycle is all we have ever known. It has always worked out. And even the data I presented all the way back on the actual day of the Bitcoin top was suggesting the Bitcoin top was in that day. And that is in relation to the 4-year cycle. So basically, the 4-year cycle does accurately pinpoint where Bitcoin tops. It has, if you look from all-time low to all-time high and then all-time high to all-time low, there is a consistent amount of days between those two positions, and it tends to repeat all the time. However, this could be the actual first time that this is confirmed to be a myth, okay? And that actually what drives the crypto bull markets is liquidity, and it's just been a complete coincidence that previous cycles, crypto cycles, have just coincided with the liquidity cycle. Now, I actually think this for the first time has a grain of truth to it. Now, you're probably saying, Well, of course you do, Suppo. You've got bags that you need to sell. Yes, I do. We all do. But at the same time, I'm not about providing hopium. I look at the data. I don't provide you with, pointless, simple platitudes and say, oh, I don't think that the bull market is over. And, you just have to believe. You just have to have conviction. I'm not one of those idiots, right? I am very realistic. And the problem is, right now, is we have got a government shutdown, right? Now, this government shutdown essentially acts like a bottleneck for liquidity entering the market, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But what most people don't know, those who don't reside in the US or aren't a government employee, is that this government shutdown is having wider repercussions on people. People are not getting paid. So what happens is that this money essentially sits in an account, a government current account, and nothing's actually going out. There's lots of inflows, but there's no outflows. So many people working for the government have missed paychecks all across the spectrum of government employees, right? You've got even food stamps not being issued because of the government shutdown. And at this point, it is the longest ever government shutdown in the US. It's a historic government shutdown. And I'm going to be presenting you with information as to why this is extremely relevant as to what has happened with crypto recently. Okay? But something that I do want to put your attention to is that, yes, a prolonged US government shutdown is causing a liquidity crisis in global financial markets. The Treasury General Account is playing a key role in draining liquidity from the market. Now, this is really the most important bit, because this is what I researched into today, which is the Treasury General Account. That is essentially the current account from the government that pays people, right? And this is how it looks right now. Okay, this is how it looks right now. So you are seeing this massive line up. That is liquidity going into the account. If you can see that properly. That's it going into the account. But as you can see, nothing is coming out of the account, right? And this is what's leading to the bottleneck. Because the bottleneck is, this is not money going in and being spent on the markets, on risk on assets, on treasury bills, right? None of that is happening right now. And as a result of this current account essentially going up, this is leading to the dollar price going up, right? Now, we have just had a slight correction on the dollar price because it has just reached this resistance zone, which has been under most of the year, right? And this correction is what's actually leading risk on assets to be in the green today. So we're seeing, shares, gold, Bitcoin all going up because, typically with the government shutdown and a lack of liquidity, this is what's allowing for the dollar to rise. So we are seeing a small little correction in that. So we could actually be seeing the beginnings of money coming back into the market. But I'm not going to basically prematurely ejaculate. Okay, so at this point, what the information is saying is that there is at this point money going into the current account. Now, you're probably thinking, well, who cares? What does this matter, right? Let me show you why it matters. I showed you in the last video the fund manager survey, right? Which is what pinpointed where liquidity starts and where it ends. And typically, liquidity starts when the markets are down, and it typically ends when the markets are super up, right? Now, this nicely corresponds with the TGA, right? The Treasury General Account. So, last time that we had basically a shutdown on the entire world was over COVID, right? So, when C19, I don't really know if it's something that's not allowed to be said anymore, but when C19 happened, basically the world went into shutdown. People stopped working. The government were working out what they were doing. So you can see here, 11th of March. Now, this was the exact time that Bitcoin went down to $3,000. Okay? And then what happened in this time is money was going into the account. So the government was still getting paid because they're still receiving all sorts of people paying into them, right? And so what happens is their account builds until they have a huge amount to spend. To spend all across the globe, basically to inject money into the market, right? And so what happened is that they had a surplus of money to be able to spend. Trillions. Look, 1.8 trillion was in the account, whereas just before C19, it was only 300 billion. So they had trillions to spend. And when did they start spending it? They started spending end of December 2020, beginning of 2021, all the way through until this point here, September 2021. Now, what does that sound like? Well, let's have a look. Let's bring it up. So, the government had a surplus of money going into, well, as a result of the C19 period, which they started spending at the end of 2020 stroke beginning of 2021. Now, as you can see here, there was a lot of sideways. Bitcoin hit its major low all the way down in the C19 bottom, 3,500, and it was basically doing nothing. It was at 10,000 for the longest time. And then, look what happened, end of 2020. The market started going up, and then it went into turbo mode. Okay, so if we just have a look, it was like a slight incremental increase in Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden, bang! Look at that. Now this was basically from the end of December 2020 through to the top, which, well, that's the first top actually, which is April 2021. This is the actual real top, though, where it came again. Okay, the real top was November 2021. All right, so we had an initial top, and then we had an initial top here, another top, and then a third top, right, in November. And that was where liquidity ended. Why? Because this is where that came to an end. December 2021. So September, it reached its bottom, right? And then there was a little spike, and then it reached its bottom again. And that just shows you what happens when the government has a lot of money to spend, which you can see right here. This is typically when it tends to be a very risk-on atmosphere. This is when stocks went to its all-time highs, or gold went to its all-time high, right? And now what we're seeing is a repeat of that right now with the government shutdown. Now, on the negative side of the equation, what this means is there's no money coming out into the market at this point. So there's a huge negative, which will turn into a huge positive. So at this point, because of the government shutdown, more and more money's coming in, and that's leading to an increased liquidity crunch, right? So if you think of quantitative tightening, this is quantitative tightening times 5, right? Because at least with quantitative tightening, there's like a kind of very long-term, slow bleeding out of liquidity, right? Where they are decreasing their spending. The government are decreasing their spending, right? They're not injecting money into the economy. They are taking money from the economy, right? So what we've got right now is that times 5. The good thing about it is that it's only short term. The government shutdown is not going to last forever. And in the meantime, what's happening is they're just increasing the liquidity going in. But that's going to end up being a situation like this. Now, this was unheralded. Like, this was a major, full year bull run. Right? Now, we are not anywhere near that kind of level, and I don't anticipate that we will be. But there is going to be a point, again, when that money gets spent back into the market. And when that money gets spent back into the market, guess what happens? That's when you get everything going up. All right, so although it looks like they've got a lot of money to spend, and really there should be liquidity in the market, they aren't spending a single thing because of the shutdown. But it's going to end very, very shortly. It's got to end. It's now in its 38th day. There is going to be a point at which it ends. And when it does end, it is going to mean that things are going to become potentially nuclear. Just think about it. I've just shown you already the proof of when it happened last and exactly pinpointed that from the point they started spending to the point they ran out of money, what effect that caused on the crypto market. Now, it just so happens that this time it hasn't coincided with the 4-year cycle or thereabouts, right? Now, I think that 3 to 5 months outside of Q4, I don't think that's too bad. That's nearly nailing it. So my personal opinion is when this government shuts down, we are going to be seeing, so where this is like quantitative tightening times 5, what we're going to be seeing is we are going to be seeing quantitative easing times 5. So where this is actually like liquidity crisis on meth, this is going to be liquidity injection on meth, right? And the funny thing is, this is coinciding with a few factors, right? First of all, QT ending, right? So they already have made a pledge, the Fed have already made a pledge that they are going to be starting QE. Secondly, we have got the big, beautiful bill coming, right? And these two events are going to be exacerbating the liquidity injection times 5 already. So I believe for a short term, this is going to be insane. Now, there is something that you have to take into consideration here. Do I still have the... Yes, so the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is going to be basically coming into force on January 1st, right? Now, this is going to significantly impact business and personal financial planning. So, as I've said already, with the stimulus, this is going to be giving people money, a huge amount of money in essentially stimulus. It's being considered stimulus, even though it's kind of a tax break or a tax refund, right? So this One Big Beautiful Bill is going to be leading to people having very good personal finances and businesses being in incredibly healthy positions. But this is where the crux point comes, and this is where I believe that this is where we're going to see the end of the bull market. This is going to be adding to the national deficit, which is already very high, $9 trillion in debt, and increasing inflation. They put slightly, but let's face it, as with what happened in 2020, this whole spending here is what caused the 10% inflation. Like, it was the biggest inflation ever that the US has ever seen. This spending, because there was so much to be spent. Right? So that inflation caused for quantitative tightening to take place, and that's why we had a 2-year bear market, right? Now, I believe, again, that we are going to be seeing irresponsible money being spent, where it seems like it's going to slightly increase inflation, but actually it's going to significantly increase inflation, and then we are going to have a recession, right? And that's what's going to be what happens here, right? But in that interim period, we are going to be having really all of the factors that lead to irresponsible spending that ultimately leads to recession, almost coincidentally. So let me just outline what all this means. Okay, so at this point, what we have had is tariff wars again, US, China. And the funny thing is, actually, bear with me 1 second. Let me just share this over to the beautiful people on the Xverse. Share, copy, paste. before every stream, I make sure I have a little message to send out. And there we are. It's out. So anyway, funny, right? This is funny, isn't it? If you think about it, it's very, very funny. You don't know these things as a typical retail investor. That's why I'm here, okay? So, we had the government shutdown on the 1st... I'll just put government SD. We had this happen on the 1st of October. Now, isn't it funny that there was an opening up of the tariff war? Now, this tariff war is what caused a mini bear market 8 months ago. Okay, so this is where, if you remember the chart I showed you in the last video where you saw all these cryptos 90% down, all of that was caused by this China versus US tariff war that happened all the way back in February, March time. Okay? So anyway, so this government shutdown happened 1st of October that would lead to a liquidity crisis. And then isn't it funny that basically, what was this? This was on the 11th, I want to say like the 8th to 11th of October, right? That this happened. So isn't it funny that government spending, the government account went up, risk on assets went down bigly. Okay, so risk on assets, liquidity went down, but the amount of money that's still going into the government account is increasing. Now, what does that tell you, people? Considering that Donald Trump is a fan of cryptocurrency and more than likely assets. I mean, look at stocks. I mean, look at the guy. The guy is one of the richest and one of the most successful businessmen of all time. Does this not seem very strategic? Okay? So anyway, so what happens is, this equals people to be scared, people to sell, so they get scared, they sell, right? Now, what we have is a situation where, liquidity is down, right? Because of the government shutdown. Now, what happens when government opens? Okay? So when government opens, so at this point, right, liquidity is down in the market. However, government account is up, right? Majorly up. So the government opens. What happens? Now they have got a bunch of cheap risk-on assets to spend on. Just like, well, you know it, just like what happened in C19. One of the biggest sell-offs ever, and what we had earlier in October was a even more significant than C19 sell-off. It was the biggest sell-off in crypto history, right? So, at the same time as government spending was going up, cryptos were through the floor. And then all of a sudden, as government was spending, bang, it was going up. And we're seeing a repeat of that happening right now. So when the government opens, what's going to happen? Well, they are going to start spending. Okay? They're going to start buying risk on assets. There's going to be issuing of T-bills, right, which is the treasury bills, right? Now, T-bills, funnily enough, are what is what backs Tether, right? Now, Tether, the printing of Tether is typically what leads to people buying, right? Because a printing of Tether essentially means there's money flowing around in the ecosystem. Now, as you can see, Tether has basically been on an upwards trajectory for a very long time. I mean, look, it's just been on an upwards trajectory. Hardly any freezes. And then look what's happened here. A freeze. Okay? Why? There's no T-bills to buy. Right? So, Tether holds more US treasuries than South Korea and the United Arab Emirates. Like, their T-bills storage, or their T-bills, holdings, are bigger than these two huge regions. And that just shows you that there's just that the environment is being set up for them to buy T-bills. So because there's not any issuing of T-bills because there's a government shutdown, Tether has essentially stopped printing, right? But they are going to start printing once these T-bills are put back into being able to be purchased. And that's going to lead to, bang, risk on assets, stocks, cryptos, flying. Well, that's what it should do. Look at the data, okay? T-bills equals USDT printing. And when there's USDT printing, there's money flowing around in the crypto market. So basically what you've got is you have got the equivalent of C19 Part 2. And you have got the big, or one big beautiful bill. And you have got quantitative easing. And stimulus. It's like too much. And you know, C19 Part 2 basically means government spending. All right? So that to me equates to, this is not the end of the bull market. This equates to, we're about to restart a bull market. Now, why do I say that I believe it ends in April? Well, the main reason I say that is because if we don't have a good end of year, then we tend to have a very good beginning of year. So it's either we have a very good, and sometimes we have 6 months of it being very good, but typically when we don't have a good end of year, we have a very good beginning of year, like what happened in 2024. Okay, it kind of starts very late stage, and then goes through until April. Okay, and that is really what happened in 2021. All right, now we did have an insane December, and you can tell why. You can tell why. Because that was at this point when they started to buy. So then it followed on that we had an incredible January, February, and March, and then it started to die from April. And so, considering that things, the one big beautiful bill should be starting the beginning of 2026, that should really be the blow-off top, in my opinion. Now, of course, that may or may not be the case, but it tends to be that always middle of the year, when in May, sell in May, and go away, right? And that typically starts a month early, right? So anyway, I believe it's going to go on till April. My own personal opinion. I believe liquidity is coming back into the market. Now, I've made the case for why I believe that the bull market is coming, and I would invite any of you to actually to argue that right now in the comments, in the chat. Why do you think I could be wrong? Because the data certainly suggests that we're at the highest, one of the highest liquidities, right? And the only other time we reached the high liquidity was when money entered back into the market, and then we saw the here we saw the bottom of Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin started to go up from that point, and then an ETF came out. Isn't that strange? An ETF comes out after the government have started buying it from its bottoms at 15k, right? And now where we are now is basically the same kind of amount of money in the government fund. So, honestly, debate me. How am I wrong? The only thing that says we potentially have hit the top is the 4-year cycle, and that is it. But as far as macro is concerned, the macro is painting a different picture. And the other thing is, we've got Donald Trump in power now, right? And Donald Trump loves cryptos, and there's all sorts of bills waiting to come out that are going to make crypto favorable in the US, right? all of which has not come out just yet. And all of this is going to contribute to this being the absolute perfect time for Trump to bring down assets, have a surplus of money to spend, and then bang, you buy these low-priced assets with this excessive amount of government money. Bang, let's now start the positive trade. Where we have had the tariff. And I believe that this is going to, at the same time as the government opens, I believe, there's going to be a deal. It's all going to be fine. And, we're going to be thinking, why were we all fooled by this at the beginning? Because let's face it, this has actually caused amongst the biggest liquidations ever seen in crypto. I showed you how a single trader on Hyperliquid lost $70 million. And such a thing would never have happened without this, okay? So it really is a zero-sum game. Someone has to lose big for someone to win big. And let's face it, who's going to be the one that wins big? So is this all just a great big melt-up? Government shutdown? I'm not going to speculate, but you see what I'm saying. I read between the lines. Now, where we're going to talk about now is asset selection, if it really is the best time to buy, the last chance to buy. Now, we've had this guy, Next Effing Thing, say meme coins are officially dead, and that's the best thing that happened in crypto in a long time. Went through the same cycle NFTs did a few years back. We've officially reached the point of no return. I don't understand how what he should be called is Don't Know a Fucking Thing, because I don't understand how he honestly believes this. Because let me tell you something, right? What happened here when we saw government spending into cryptos, what we had and what we always have is we have the crypto market essentially starting off with the big assets always going up first. Okay, we know this, we've seen it before a million times. Starts with Bitcoin, then ETH, large caps, then mid, then low, then micro, right? So this is what always happens, right? It flows down from the top. Always, yeah? Now, what happens is, in this area, you've largely got utility coins. And what you're seeing right now, even today, is you are seeing, basically, most utility coins right up. 43, 72, 60%, 40%, right? If we have a look at Dick Screener, you can see that even the lowest cap cryptocurrencies, the highest is 21%. So you're probably thinking, well, okay, maybe meme coins are dead. Maybe utility is dead. Wrong. Okay? So, let me tell you something that I've come to learn about utility coins. Okay? It's cyclical. Right now, it's privacy. Where was privacy a year ago? No one gave a crap. Privacy a year ago was this line here. You can't see it. But basically, this line here was what privacy was a year ago. No one cared for it, right? Last year was AI, RWA, meme coins, right? And this year, and last year, privacy was down here. Layer 2s were down here. Layer 1s were down here. Everything was down here, right? Now what we've got is the inverse of that. Even right now, the third best trend, can you see that? The third best trend is metaverse. Like, come on. This is showing you the real state of play with utility coins, right? It is just feeding into narrative plays, right? The days are gone now of everything going up, right? The generic altcoin season, right? Alt season used to mean everything, right? Everything and everything would go up in alt season, right? This is the past. Now, alt season means whatever is in mode. And this started in 2021, we had DeFi going up in the first part from January to April 2021, DeFi and DeFi 2. And then from August to November, we had launchpads, gaming, metaverse, right? And memes. And then we got into 2023, and then we first saw then gaming, then AI, then Deepin, then Bitcoin layer 2, then layer 2, and it just is a rotation, right? It doesn't all go up at once. It's whatever's in mode at that point. And it started off with gaming, then AI, then Deepin. There's not been Deepin since. There's not been Bitcoin layer 2 since. No one cares about that anymore. Layer 2s no one cares about. There hasn't been privacy, and now all of a sudden we've got privacy. A couple of weeks ago, we had X402. Dead. All are dead, right? And privacy will be the next one to go. All right? It'll be, oh yeah, Zcash and shit. Dash, etc. That's going to die. And so what you've got is you've basically got gamble season, right? You can't hold anything anymore. You know, because Zcash, it's going to be dead in a couple of weeks. No one's going to care for Zcash anymore. It's been a big thing. No one's going to give a rat's about it very soon. So buying it to hold it, bad idea. A couple of months ago, Asta was the big thing. Oh, Asta's going to be the next big thing. It's going to be the next big hyperliquid. CZ loves it. And then once you had the tariff news, this thing bombed minus 80%. Probably even more than that. And it's not really recovered either. So everything is just a gamble now. So utility doesn't matter. You're only in a good utility coin if it's in mode at a particular time. Like right now, I'm in ICP, right? And, you know, I've been beating the drum of ICP for ages, and ICP did nothing except go down and bleed forever. And now all of a sudden, you know, it's like mega up. And I'm happy about that. But will it last? That remains to be seen. But nothing lasts anymore in the utility market. But let me tell you what has lasted. Movements. Okay? Of which there are very, very few. Like you've got your meme coins. So are meme coins officially dead? No. Because meme coins mean community, tokenized communities, right? So they're not dead. The only thing that dies is the strength of a community. Now, with Myro, Cock in You, do you remember those? They're all dead now. No one gives a shit about those. Why? Because they're just meme mascots, right? Movements, however, there's one big leader, SPX. Now, this has survived all of the mascots, okay? This SPX has destroyed most of them, right? It's still alive, and it's only... And the funny thing is, it's one person that is driving that, right? However, this is a meme coin that is $1 billion in value. So therefore, whilst movements stay in mode, so you've had all these shit narratives going off, right? You've had X402, you've had a little bit of AI, you've had some DeFi, a big DeFi season, you've got a privacy season. They come and go, right? But what has survived? SPX. But it's a high market cap. So therefore, to me, the best asset selection is to find what's like SPX, but low cap. And that's why, to me, the absolute no-brainers, the easy picks, are Doge, because Doge is the SPX, but a tiny market cap compared to the SPX, 9 million, and concentrates on a different market than the SPX. They concentrate on the Dow Jones, the Dow Jones 30. So this is a movement that has its own significance, has its own community, And now, Dausch has been around for what, 5 months? So June, July, August. Well, no, it only really started in end of June. July, August, September, October, November. It takes 6 months to form a base, a cult base. Okay? 6 months. We are now at that 6 months. This is no longer a bunch of people who may or may not like it. Like, this is now a entrenched, ingrained cult, right? So if people are still holders, which they are, right? So let's just have a look at the amount of holders. 16,000 hodlers still. This is a cult. It's not lost people. It's not lost people throughout, you know, these months of scariness, of shaking people out of the market. It's not lost any of them. And that tells me this is a strong as fuck cult. And that is why the price has survived and will ultimately thrive, right? So the other thing to note about DJI is that they are always moving, always active. I don't need to bring up SPX. They haven't changed their webpage. They haven't changed any text on it. They've changed nothing. Nothing actually is active or dynamic about SPX. The only thing that is keeping them alive is Murad making shorts and videos, and that's it. Now, of course, that riles up Team SPX, but there's nothing from the team. Okay, now the team is where the movement emanates from. Okay, the team creates the momentum, the listings, the artwork, the GIFs, the shareable content for people to essentially share out and get enthused by. SPX do not have that. SPX don't have a dynamic team. They don't have an active team. They're not making anything new or refreshed. It's the same asset it has been for 2 years. Whereas DJI 6930, this is a dynamic asset. They have got a team which is always on the move. And also, you know, these guys are attractive enough to have got MEXC as the third biggest. And they are, look, they have increased their treasury of Dausch, right? They are now the third biggest holder. They have gone from being, you know, kind of in the 20s to 14th to 7th to now 3rd. And no doubt about it, you know, it's only going to ramp up in terms of engagement from the listings world. Then next, we've got an asset that is basically now on the ascendancy. And that is Pengo, right? Pengo, otherwise known as Petro Penguins, not Pudgy Penguins. This is a completely new movement-based value proposition, okay? So what you see here is that they have now broken out of this range here. And I said it was going to happen because, you know, they were breaking out more than they were breaking down, right? This is a strong as fuck asset, right? Now, Petro Penguins, if you've never watched my content before, you've never heard of Petro Penguins, well, look at that for starters, right? So Petro Penguins is a movement of oil-spilt penguins that are bringing attention and awareness to the plight of penguins globally, which is that these oil spills are destroying the species entirely and the environments they live in that also affect other animals like seals, right? And so these penguins are heroes. They're not just a cartoon brand that are on TikTok. This is a movement looking to flip the oil market. Like, to me, it's a very compelling case. And just look at the website as well. These animated elements on their website, the attention to detail, the quality of the characters, the social media posting that they're doing. You know, they're on TikTok, they're on Twitter, and the cartoons are just unbelievable. Just, this is the quality that is being produced by the team. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a This is a team, a good, high-quality, first-class team that are always producing assets, artwork, songs, jokes, gifs, everything to build a brand. And this is another movement. And to me, you know, Dauj and Pengu are both extremely superior to SPX. Why? Because they are mascot coins in addition to movements. You know, what you've got with SPX is a movement, and you can see the infectiousness of the movement with SPX. You can see that, and we saw exactly the same with DJI 6930 in its early stages, right? So what you've got is you have got two movements that actually have fantastic brands around them. So look at the branding of DJI 6930, right? It's, you know, very, very hypnotic, very subliminal, and it's all about becoming the successful 99% versus the 1% of evil, right? And Pengu is precisely the same in that you have got a face to the movement, all right? Just like with any movement. Black Lives Matter, you know, George Floyd. I'm not going to talk about the other movements because I don't want to get contentious or you know, or say something that could be complained about. But the movements always have a character, a brand, the people that drive the movement. And that's what Dauj and Pengu have in spades. And that's why I believe these are going to take off like anything. And why there aren't many assets in cryptocurrency that have the ability to, you know, to not be affected by this, okay? Because it doesn't matter what narrative, it doesn't matter if it's DeFi, AI, RWA, DePIN, whatever. It doesn't matter what the narrative is that's going on. Because as long as the community are active, then the coin substantially grows in value. As long as they don't care about price, they only care about belief, pushing the message, which is what's happening in these early stages for both Dauj and Pengu. They've both in pre-critical mass mode. Neither have been in altcoin seasons, and this is the, as far as I'm concerned, this is the first altcoin season they are going to be exposed to. And so another thing to talk about, which is a very important factor, in fact, regardless of all this stuff, okay? Another thing that's very, very important is this factor here. Retail noobs / new money, right? Now, this group of people, they are going to be entering cryptocurrency not for a 50% gain, not for even at best a 3x. These are people that have heard of the land of opportunity that crypto is. These are the degens. These are the people that want to risk it all. They want to put 100 in and turn that into thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not potentially millions. Okay? These are the people enticed by the Pepe story, the SHIB story, the Bonk story, the Safe Moon story. You know, these people have big imaginations, big dreams, big goals and aspirations. They enter into crypto just like I did, probably just like you did, to make a lot of money, not to turn $100 into $200. Okay, fine. There are going to be some people that just want to outperform the stock market. But most people are going to look at crypto, particularly in a euphoria stage, and they're going to be thinking, I want to make a lot of money. And so they're going to look at, you know, let's just Casper, proof of work, ghost DAG cryptocurrency, right? That's too much terminology for a noob. They're going to think, what the fuck's proof of work for starters? What's a blockchain? What's ghost DAG? What's DAG? You've lost them. Starknet. Yeah, I think these guys are, I want to say they're a layer 2. right? I've been so out of the utility market for so long, I've forgotten what even most of these are. Render, yeah, maybe that might pick up. Uniswap, decentralized exchange. What's a decentralized exchange? GRT. Index. You know, crypto oracle stroke indexing tool. What's an index? What's a tool? What's a fucking oracle? Right? You've lost them. Most of these cryptocurrencies, you know, layer ones, DeFi protocols, storage and deepin. As soon as they even look at the website, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? But with a dog icon, like Doge, and it even sounds like Doge, right? They are going to be, okay, this makes sense. So it's a dog, right? It's a dog mascot. It's the dog that draws them in, because it's like not a faceless, you know, if you look at these bubbles, they're faceless, and there's nothing. And Doge has even got a D in front of it. So you look at these are faceless. You know, they don't encourage, excite, stimulate the mind at all. Something like this is like, okay, I get it. It's a dog first, right? They go in, look, cute dog, 3-headed dog, 3 cute heads. All right, let's have a look. What's the value proposition? Flipping the Dow Jones. Everyone's heard of the Dow Jones. Most people don't know what the Standard & Poor's 500 is. They don't know what the SPX is, but everybody has heard of the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones has been around since the 1800s, and the SPX is only 50, 60 years old, right? So they're already going to know what it is, and then they're going to come to this bit, which is the storytelling. And that's going to be the instant draw. The thing about Pengo is pudgy penguins, right? So pudgy penguins is already an opportunity that's been and gone. You know, it's already a $1 billion market cap. 1.5 billion. It's already been and gone. Okay, yes. Yeah, where it is right now is about 3x down from its high. So you could probably make 5x maybe. But the opportunity's gone. You know, for a degen coming into crypto, if they listen to someone like me, who understands that it's not about price, it's about market cap, as soon as they get that concept, they'll be like, I don't know why I even cared about pudgy penguins in the first place, because the upside from 1 billion is low, right? The upside from 4 million is extremely high. So all of this talks the language of retail noobs, new money, essentially, aka degens, right? These are the people that want to change their life in one cycle, and they can, potentially. Depends on what, most of them enter. You know, if we're looking at the market, you've got the takeoff, and then the extreme, you've got euphoria. They tend to enter around here anyway, so they're not likely to make it as such. But that's the opportunity they're going to be going for, and they're going to go for it, because if they do enter here, the likelihood is they're not even going to make a 1x on a coin, let alone a 2x. But only here, in the land of memes, can you get 100 to 1000x? It's only here that you can do it. So I don't really know what this mofo is talking about. He's talking utter shit. But he's got a bit of a point here where he goes, the creator coins, the creator meta was a crap. Yeah, okay, I agree with that, right? But then he's like, DeFi. It's here he said, creator coins is the biggest cancer meta we've had in crypto. Tried and tested. Friend Tech was a failure as well. You know, so I agree with that. I do agree with that, right? But I think he's completely missing the boat where, you know, I was in the gym in 2020. Yeah, I was in the gym just after COVID. And I was overhearing people saying, oh, SafeMoon, oh, XRP, oh, Doge, SHIB. Those were the names being banded around. Oh, what other meme coins do you like? Right? That's the level of conversation that happens in euphoria. Not, oh, Hyperliquid, oh, DeFi, and decentralized finance and yield farming and staking. That's so exciting, isn't it? That's never going to happen, is it? Let's face it. And people like pets, they like icons, they like funny faces, they like parodies, they like being part of communities. None of that you get in the utility market, and all of that you get from meme coins and strong meme coins like this, like this. Now, as far as other coins are concerned, you've got some that have been rinsed down to the bone. They've had all the meat eaten off them, and yet there's still a bucket of drumsticks waiting still to be devoured for most of these cryptos. Okay, so Millennial, which was previously like 4 million, is now 40x down. Lolcoin is 20x down. All retire. Can you even see this properly? Bear with me a second. All retire. I think that's like, I want to say 10x down. I think it's been like 17, 20 million. Housecoin, 3.9 mil. Meow, 672. That's nothing. This will 10x in no time. Liquid 352. And Liquid, I don't see there being an end. As much as I don't care for DeFi, if I was going to make a bet on a higher cap cryptocurrency that's not a meme, it will probably be Hyperliquid. Just purely because of the success of Binance, I think that Hyperliquid changes the game. It's like a decentralized Binance, basically. And, we've already seen it's one of the most traded platforms. So if Hyperliquid is going nowhere and Asta is going to be like the Ethereum, if Hyperliquid's the Bitcoin and Asta's the Ethereum, then Liquid's going nowhere. And Liquid is basically a combination of Asta and Hyperliquid to create, in my opinion, the perfect name. That, if I was to explain, and I know this, right? If I was to explain to, a 30-something, maybe even a 25-something, but a 30-something, and they're like, oh, what's a good coin? What's a coin what's the coins that that are doing well in the market? And I'll say, Hyperliquid and Asta. They're decentralized perpetual exchanges where you do long and shorting. Anything else? Well, there's a coin called Liquid, which is basically combining the two, and it's kind of a meme coin, but also a DeFi platform. Liquid? That's brilliant. You may not say that, but they'll probably say Liquid. Really? Liquid? There we are. Perfect marketing. That name will stick in your mind. Colin, 482. I'm going to buy some Colin. At that price level, I was buying it 10x higher. Leah, under $1 million. A lot of these coins, like, look, F9 to 5, 369. I mean, that's quite perfect, isn't it? 369. I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? So, and 430k. Like, a lot of these are going to pump to fuckery. They're going to absolutely blow the roof off. Should this play out how I predict it will. There's too many factors. That corroborate a bull cycle to come. There's too many factors. Like, it's not really ever been a case where government has excess spending and then we go into a bear market. Well, that does not make any sense. Unless, of course, they want to, unless they want to, I can't really get rid of all these things, but unless they want to, they want to have a huge amount of spending and then just let everything fall and they have a government shutdown for months, there has to be an overall effect, right? So you've got the cause, there's got to be an effect from it. And you've got equal and opposing forces as well. You've got the kind of 5x quantitative tightening happening right now that's going to lead to 5x quantitative easing. So to me, this should all play out, and it should all play out well. This may or may not be a relief rally. We may not be ready for it yet. You know, maybe what we're seeing is just a dip in the dollar. You know, that's what we're seeing. Seeing a dip in the dollar. The other thing, actually, what the hell? This thing stopped working. The other thing, actually, that's quite interesting is if you really zoom in, for the first time since July, it's actually decreased. So it decreased from, yeah, it's actually decreased. So maybe they have already started buying, and maybe what we're seeing here is the beginning of that buying. We'll have to wait and see. But I want you to know that I think that the case is there for there to be a bull market. Right, okay. Let me see how long I've been on here. I like to do these streams after I've seen my son, so that it actually gives me more time. I don't have to be in a hurry to leave. So if you wouldn't mind, if you don't mind, could you tap a like on this video? I will join you at quite literally the same time. And tap that like. So I would appreciate if you did that. It will obviously help more people to see the messaging. Right, okay, let me have a look and see what you guys got to say. Oh, Win All Day, good to see you. Very happy to see you here. What do you think of Pinhead? Sounds stupid. Oh, hold on, let me take it off. Yeah, that's fucking daft. Well, that's so... You see, what I notice a lot in my Suppoman's masterminds and in here is people have bags of crap and they think, oh, if Suppo talks about it, it's just going to 15x immediately. But the only time that ever happens is when I see something that makes sense. And, you know, when somebody showed me Pixie, I was like, oh, yeah, cool. You know, we had the bitty narrative. This one kind of is an alternative. It does, it kind of makes sense, and that's why it 15x. But I don't like shit coins, so please don't give me shit coins, because it really angers me a lot. We miss your dog, Suppo. Where is she? She's with my son, so she's not here right now. Thank you very much, Win All Day. I appreciate that. You know, 8 years, getting grey hair, aging badly, probably weeks or months away from a heart attack. I'm only joking, but you know, there's got to be some benefit, and so hopefully that benefit is intuition, which is something I've always had. Momo has the most active community right now. I don't disagree that Momo's got a good community. I wouldn't say it's the most active, but I'd say it was a good community. You know, 147k volume is not too bad. So, yeah, actually doing well. Stimulus and tariffs may not happen if the Supreme Court rules again. DJT rules again. DJT. So that would mean refunds back to traders. What thoughts on? I don't know what you're on about, to be honest. Super. What's the best AI coins to hold? Suppoman, Colin, Aria, Leah, AI. To me, all of them, because I hold all of them. And I only hold when I see that there is longevity within the project. But having said that, you know, Leah, Colin, and Aria, unlike movement coins, they will only rise in an AI season, AI agent season. Now, that's not to say it won't happen, because you know, virtuals is up what 24%, which is about on par with the mean, I would say, in all of this. But, you know, I'd probably be looking for kind of an outstanding performance from AI Agent, you know, high caps, to see that Colin Aria will do well. But it doesn't matter. As long as they stay active, as long as they keep wowing people, because I've had some people saying in my stream, oh, so what do you think of shit AI coin, shit AI meme coin? And I look at it and I think, well, part of codswallop. This won't do well, even if it was a full blown euphoria, right? It has to. Why I pick the assets I pick is because there's some wow factor in it. They only do well because of wow factor. You know, if it's only because I mention the name, I don't expect it to go anywhere, right? But Leah, when I first brought her onto a stream, was interviewing her. You know, it was a wow moment. Same with Colin, right? But they need the AI narrative, or they will go nowhere. That's the problem. So, although I think that they're brilliant buys, at the same time, they're also potential opportunity costs. Spinning back fist. The technical analysis is the good stuff. Thank you, Superman. Yeah, thank you. I don't really do technical analysis. I know how to do it. I mean, at this point, most people know how to do technical analysis. I mean, it's not... And I think that that's why we've gotten into the situation that we've gotten into. Yeah, this is a big reason why Bitcoin has taken such a big dump. The reason being is because, you know, people know how to draw lines, you know, and you know, this support line was kind of a big factor in whether people sold or not. And the market makers had to make it happen. You know, that it goes down to here. And, you know, there's a potential bottom here. You know, if you look at where bottoms kind of stop and then reverse, there is a case to say it could go back down to 93. I think that could happen. That's why I think that we may not have played this out completely yet. But I think there's going to be a point. We either go down and then we come back into this area eventually and then break through it, like what happened here, right? So we hit this area when we first went over 100k back in December last year, you know, and then, you know, the market corrected very quickly, and then it went back up to over the all-time high, and then bang, it went down right back to this support area where it didn't look like it would happen again. You know, we were at 109,000 and we went back down to 74,000. And yet it went back into this range and blew into the next range. And this is that range right here. So, yeah, I foresee this going to go back into this range and then blow away again. And that will be the last time it happens. I don't know if there's going to be enough gas in the tank to get to two. Let's assume that we are, for the sake of argument, gonna have a last leg. I don't foresee that we're gonna get up to 200k. I think that's just too much. I think that 150, I think there or thereabouts is the top. I hate to say it, but I do think there's just not enough gas in the tank to get up to 200k. But I also don't think that there's enough bearishness for this to go back down to like 60k. Well, yeah, everything is all up in the air. No one knows. RBR Bora. Now that's one area I have not gotten into yet, and it's one of the areas I've kind of looked for a champion, but it doesn't really make sense to me to look for robotics when there's no AI season. But I have heard this spoken about before, and at this point, it's kind of at its lowest price. Let me just have a look at Rabora. I mean, to me, I'm looking for a robotics coin that is like Leah, basically, or like Colin. So it's like there's an actual robot, potentially a female. Not that I'm looking for a sex bot or anything, but I'm just saying that in a market full of men, they're not gonna like a male. But maybe, who knows? But I'm looking for something that's like, we're building the next Sophia. Yeah, we're building the actual Leah in robot form. Not just these robotic infrastructures, because there's too many of them that you don't kind of know where the quality lies, because they're all kind of doing the same thing. Democratize robotics, you know, launch pad for robotics. Just gets a kind of bit samey. Right, so I'm looking for something with wow factor. And I'm not sure this has it. Modular robotics sounds good. But I don't know. Need to look into it, I guess. But I mean, this is a relatively good market cap at 1.1 mil. Gonna fly now. Rover on base. I'm not bothering with base. Base is stupid. AU79. Well, it's officially been called by one of my buddies. By Ionic. He's officially said he's... I knew he was going to as well. It's a bit annoying. Because, yeah, it's a bit annoying. Because I'd rather he was calling a decent coin. But I'll work on him. Ionic, if you're working... I mean, if you're watching Ionic, because I know Ionic watches. Ionic, if you're watching, I need to get you on Doge. Doge! Not this shit. But, I mean... In a risk-on atmosphere, which we are likely to get into. I've gotten rid of that page now. But we're likely to go into a risk-on atmosphere, and gold is likely to go back up. So with gold going back up, so may AU79. And now that they've got the likes of Ionic, it's probably going to be a lot stronger. Furby's crap coin. Everything's pumping on base. Let me have a look at that then, because I haven't noticed any base narrative. But I might be wrong, because I find the base ecosystem quite shit, to be honest. I only really like one coin on there, and that's Andy. Storage AI, blah, 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 blah. Sui memes are up. Don't really know why, but there we are. Base ecosystem, is there anything? Categories, base memes, not really up. Base ecosystem, no change. So don't know where you're getting your data from, but it's nothing on bases pumping. So we take out Delulu, stupid coin. Feet coin's awesome. Mother of God, I've looked at that shit. Guys, please don't be dumb. Honestly, like, some people just deserve to lose their money. Like, I know what happens. Like, some people create a coin and they're like, oh, I'm going to talk about it on Suppo's channel. Mother of God coin. This is just so stupid. Like, honestly, what assholes bought up to 400k market cap? It's so stupid. This is an example of an idiot and their money deserve to be parted. Former Robotics, another shit one. Furby. I already said it's a pile of crap. God's sake, why do you guys look at such stupid fucking coins? It actually annoys me, to be honest. Like, I expect it from idiots watching other channels. Like maybe Crypto Gains channel or some channel full of idiots, but not mine. Sui ecosystem is up from the crime on D-Agent AI. I don't know what that means, to be honest. But it's interesting. But I'm not interested in going for Sui memes at all at this point. At this point, I'm only looking for... Oh, okay. So Delulu is a movement for delusional people. Yeah, but it just sounds stupid to me. Soul, S-O-L-L-E, like... Honestly, like, just grow up. Just so stupid. Some people are literally just don't understand quality when they see it. They just have to buy some shit and hope that I pump it, which is never gonna happen. Pandu Pandas I really like. I think this is good still. And look, 270k. That's strong. That's strong. You know, this has made a good comeback from 4 million lately. Colin doesn't suck, but I do think they need to do more as a team. Cartman. Oh, man. I'm just going to stop inviting people to give me their dumb coins to look at, because I can honestly feel my blood boiling right now. It's just the level of... Anyway. Tars AI. Interesting. That's gone up 11%. So, you know, basically there's only 4 coins in the red right now. Memes, what the fuck? That's a bit surprising. I expect that to be higher, but this really needs a gaming and meme season to do well. Pumpy really needs pump.fun to do well, but 82k market cap, like, it's a pretty... It's as low as it can get, surely. By the way, people, if you haven't yet, there's 207 of you. If you could quite literally make me excited on this Friday night, make me excited, and tap that like. Just tap it. And it makes me delighted, in all honesty. Santa Coin BSC, no. Stupid. Neural AI, that needs a narrative. It needs AI to come back, and then you'll have all the biggies after it. Stream season, again, you know, I think that Alex Becker, yeah, he actually did a tweet a couple of days ago, I want to say, where he said that he is going to be making a video or something. I'm bullish, eat my ass. Yeah, you weren't saying that a couple of days ago. Like, a couple of days ago, you were like saying you'd be surprised. So, I do love Alex Becker. I know Alex Becker watches the channel. So, Alex, you are awesome. But it is, but stuff like that is annoying. But I'm sure he did a video. He did a thing the other day saying he's going to make a really bullish video. I think he deleted it. But without a doubt, there will be a point he talks about stream season. There will be, you know, because he was very excited about this, you know, streaming elements on Pump. Hold on a minute. Right, okay, people. Well, thank you very much. Oh my god, my hair looks really messy from this side. It looks so good in the mirror. Anyway, I'm going to make a move now, because otherwise people just won't watch the video if it's just too long in length. And at this point, the length is too long. And the video. Okay, people, thank you very much for joining me on this Friday night. And I hope that it's given you some hope about the future. If you are still holding your bags, and they are good bags in narratives that won't die, or narratives that are not interchangeable every 2 minutes, and you could make it. And don't forget, people, come what may, rain or shine, next narrative, I am going to be still finding the gems. So don't you worry. Till next time, people, I've been the Suppoman. You have been tremendous. I will see you next time. It is lights out, all out.